Hey, what's going on, peoples? What's going on? How we doing? How we doing? All right. Uh, it's been Pluto. It, I'm gonna go ahead and blame it on Pluto. Okay. After I take everything for myself. Okay. A lot of things that I have made mistakes on, and this time right now, and it's been some, let's just say, eye-opening experiences and everything, remembrances, uh, times in which really Pluto is like takes you out, takes you out and everything. Uh, and especially, I was looking over the thing inside of Gemini itself, but I was trying to connect it to the here right now. And these are some of the things I came up with. Okay, besides the things that I've posted already, as far as even just 2 years ago, 2023, and the circular motion within that. And what I did come across, or what happened, and what's happening again right now is uh, a, a re-examination and everything of a lot of things. All right, I'm sure, like I've looked upon, I had focused myself to, or let myself come between only a few um, energies, people, or reflections from this collective and everything. 2:22 on the clock. And when I did that and everything, I had to go ahead and readjust, readjust some of these things because it was going pretty fast. Even though Pluto is far away, it was going pretty fast and everything. And so when I did that, I had to go ahead and pull back a little bit on a lot of things. Why? In order to go ahead and get my own focus again. So you're probably doing the same thing. You're probably doing the same thing with your relationships. And as I've tapped into, even like I said, there's a few people I had left, like Joey over in Hawaii. You know what I'm saying? I had not tapped back into even those relations, or not necessarily relations, but mirror effects, or people that you go to and you just listen, just listen. You know, because most of the time, most of us will go ahead and people are going to tell you who they are, you know, and whether or not we see it, hear it, we feel it, to be exactly that, that is going to depend on our perspectives, you know. And so within that right there, like I said, right now is coming up here with this, or like everybody knows, is coming up here with this uh, moon tonight, this blood moon tonight, you know, in Pisces, in Pisces. And so, as it has been stated, it is revealing a lot of things, a lot of things. And because this is where we started at in the whole cycle too, with Pisces. All right. And so, in on a global, okay, on a global, what had happened in 1884. 1884 was when Gemini came into Pisces. Gemini was in Pluto for the first time. That within this cycle and everything, I want to go ahead and say I didn't even do the calculations on it, but 1884 to 1984, that's 100 years right there. Okay, and we are even 1984 to right now 225. I was 22 years old, 1984, and we're 60 right now. So that's a good 80. That's 80 years and everything, in which, again, where it was stated, I learned from mine is going blank right now. I learned from, who did I learn this one from? Molly at the time. And so this is the first time where the sun and the moon are squared, and things are going to be different. Things are going to be different. And so our adjustments and everything, are going to be different. And even right now, again, even with this blood moon right now. So that blood moon threw me back to 2 years ago to 223, when a sturgeon moon, we had two super moons in Leo. And I was over in Africa at the time, over in Tanzania at the time. And that's when I came across the Dax and Mbezi Beach, Double X, and Sija. And the only person that really saw everything that was happening was, what was his name? Well, it's actually two people. It's two people. Alex, because Alex was happening. It was happening to Alex at the same time. All right, he had been there and was helping Trevor and them come over and set up that school over there, and they treated him like a piece of trash. And he was actually at the time he was actually doing what I was actually in the process of doing, and that is getting into this, cybersecurity. Which when I pulled up to this place, I wanted to go ahead and get into that portion for my course, learning and security, to go ahead and establish my own, channel here. Learn the channels of cybersecurity, in which this place right here, upon entering, even, was arrogant enough to go ahead. OG was arrogant enough to go ahead and say hi-fi Wi-Fi, and even when I started up to go ahead and learn this cybersecurity, the particular unit they were in set, and even the whole Wi-Fi system did not let me boot up to go ahead and take my classes and so forth. So Alex, and he's a good soul. Like, he was teaching me the Kiswahili when I was over there, and he went on to go into school over there to go ahead and do the same thing. And so it brought us back to the super moon that's over there, because the super moon at that time was actually a sturgeon moon, which is a red moon, which is also connected to the corn moon, of which this red moon or blood moon is also connected to the corn moon as we come today, September 7th. Okay. Now, how this all ties in on a global, on a different scale, with inside of the way that the paths and everything that I was led, is back over. It ends up back over being to 1884, the Berlin Conference and everything. Again, back to Pluto and Gemini, matter of fact. Okay, and so Pluto itself is the ninth house right now inside of this 2025, inside of this ninth year. Okay, so as we are going through rebirth in this process, as and birth is signified given that number 9 also, so that's a 999, especially on the different things that Pluto and Gemini brought in. Okay, and as I started this out, I'm talking about blurred boundaries. Okay, blurred boundaries, even first within myself and amongst all of us are going through these. All of us are going through these. Okay, so we're talking about blurred boundaries. We're talking about this is what it brought in, Pluto and Gemini, 1884 to 1914. This is the Berlin Conference again, in which everybody attended, the 14 countries attended, to include America, to go ahead and part up Akabulan, which they went ahead and gave it Africanus or Africa. And if we go ahead and look at those two words, whether it be inside of the Greek, Africanus, and it's going to be the A, take the two A's on the end, okay, that's going to be separate, all right, but the free, okay, the PHRI, okay, is dealing with hot sun, and Ka is that of the spirit body, the soul, and everything. So a lot of, and Africa in a general sense is landlocked. It's landlocked on a lot of sides and everything. Okay, so and means hot. Okay, so what, again, going back now to these blurred boundaries and so forth, that whether it be within or without, what Pluto did bring in, even for them to come to that Berlin Conference in order to part Africa, not just Africa, but just a whole plan for even the world wars, whether it be within Africa, even within our own personal bodies, mental states, and physical conditions. Okay, but what it did is change a lot of things, and what it did is it gave a heightened intellectual curiosity, and this is particularly in Gemini with Pluto in a conjunction right there, and which gave more connections, and so they utilized this. All right, these are positive attributes that, of course, can be used as a negative to go ahead and encompass an agenda. All right, so these heightened intellectual curiosities, adaptability to process and disseminate, all right, intentions. They brought in, the inventions were actually phonograph, film, all right, on a global level. What they did is they brought in national magazines. Now, when we look at the word magazines, what do we have the word there? We have MAGA. Magazines is also in what we use for war, okay? Put in your magazine clip, okay? So all those things are also inside of that. And film was actually came into, for this, was utilized, at least. It's probably before. We had it before. But it came in again right now. It's again 1884 to 1914. And we also had deep and often unseen shifts in how our humanity communicates and learns and processes information. Intellectual and curiosity and knowledge adaptability, which also for a lot of us that had a thirst, again, as it is right now, again, for intellectual knowledge, all right, which transforms language, thought, it and it warped, okay, even to deconstruct and transform concepts of language, all right, cultivation, and it had an impact on the very way people understood and shared ideas. Okay, again, what is happening right now? So it also brought to attention how to reevaluate philosophies, outdated perspectives that are no longer serves us. Okay, emotional cleansing, which a lot of us are going through right now. Emotional cleansing on a daily, which a lot of us are going through right now. Inner truth and intuition, personal growth with transformation. All right, beliefs, philosophies, and worldviews, shaping our community, rethinking how to express yourself and communicate genuinely with genuine builds. And even along the way right now, I know I have scarred, in even the sense of Lion King scar, okay, scarred maybe a few of the friendships or relationships that I've had along the way. All right, and even coming to grips with those things and reaching out in the highest to correct those, even in the highest, okay, with highest intention to correct those and everything. All right, because we're getting beyond what the superficial, interactions and everything, in which we either have it within ourselves or within the relationships that we did go ahead into, and whether it be blindly or we put ourselves inside of there to actually learn. Give me one quick second. Yeah, to actually learn. And I actually do that as far as going inside of here a lot, a lot. And even during my time over there, at that point in time, during this, there's a sturgeon moon over inside of Tanzania. I saw, oh my, even with the people that I ran into, the lock and key that was on them, the lock and key, and even robotic mood. Hey, everybody's name was Happy. Everybody's name was Happy. And a lot of the females, everybody's name was Khalid or Saeed, which means blessed and bestowed upon. But they weren't that, They weren't that. And it wasn't until I came again back up and saw even where I was at in Embezzlement Beach. And even so, what had happened was Trevor had said, don't go down to the beach, because they wanted to go ahead and keep the monetaries within their small little clan, because not everybody has the same plan. Even though everybody's following the same general plan, we still have cliques within the cliques, tribes within tribes, in which that are partitioned off by invisible lines, in which they do not even want the streets to get pavement on to keep the dust inside the air. To keep the dust inside the air. And so he wanted me to stay away from the beach. And I went there anyway. And who rolls upon me? Well, the next set of people. And this is Shija and Dax, which he owned one of the beaches down, like I said, in, what is it called? Maga Beach, from these magazines. And he was in a lot of Maga magazines as a model and so forth, Yet, at the same time, as I was traveling, even to Zanzibar to pick up this sea moss, and a lot of the women, first of all, my guide, Mabuze, which is like Ma, meaning like a mother, and Buze meaning bad mother, okay? Even her daughter said, Mama, don't do this. Mama, don't do this. I heard her over, arguing with her mom, on a text. Or she was actually on the phone, and she said, don't do it. And then she showed me, like, she didn't think I could understand the text and everything. Don't do this. But she took the little money I gave me. I gave her to go ahead and get some ointment for my feet and everything. It was like 70 shillings or what have you. And she takes that and goes and gets some Vaseline and gets some root beer from the store and makes a little paste and said, this right here, rub it on your feet, it'll heal you. I'm like, okay. So I'm checking everything out, you know what I'm saying? But as I'm doing that, we get over to Zanzibar to get for the what do you call it? We go to get the sea moss and everything. Oh, before, we go to get the sea moss. What happens is, we get there and the lady, the guy who we go rent the place from, we seen each other, somewhere before. We've seen each other somewhere before in time. And / he was on a backdrop, even giddy at the whole, because everything was set up. It was set up, going back to Germany real quick, 1884, even since I had been in Germany with the 7 sisters that I was supposed to go over there to Kenya with, which I didn't do. Okay, that was set up when I got away from the wife over there, but that was a setup to even go with them to go, but I didn't do that. So when I went in 2023, that was also known, and so they went ahead, sent message ahead over there to go ahead and this is Nisha, because Nisha was actually involved with Anne, my ex-wife, over in even knowing where I was at and what I was doing in Germany to send different ploys and plots. And that's where I met Dunya, and Arabia means the world. And then, and they tried to set me up over there too, I guess, to get pictures and everything, to, little girls to go ahead and get my little thing sucked and everything with little girl, and all kinds of stuff. They was ready to take pictures. And it was like, none of that shit worked, And so when I get back, Nisha is the one who sent for me. She knew I had left that point. She said, well, that shouldn't work. Let's bring him back here. We're going to go ahead and plot something else out. With the help of Eugene and plausibly Rosa. Okay? With the help. Okay? And so when that happens and everything, we drop, I fly into Connecticut, where she's at the time. And then she's going to go to Texas but we stop in Cleveland. And while I'm at the house in Cleveland, guess who calls? Because I didn't tell Dunya I was leaving it up. Dunya calls to the house number in Cleveland and says, "Why didn't you tell me you were leaving?" Right? And so, even when I go to, when I go to Texas, so we're gonna fast forward up to this last marriage. So the last marriage, I go to Florida, okay, to go ahead and this was part of their whole thing too. The guy Stephen, what's his name? Stephen James the Righteous, he called himself, and he was over here. I forget the lady's name, Beth, because it was a house. Beth's house Beth means house, and so Beth is over here, and he's talking about. Stephen is talking about, or James, as he called him, James the Righteous, is talking about some female that's there and everything that came in there, and he likes her, and then this other guy, and Anyways, so I'm not really tripping, and so, but some of the stuff that he's talking about, I was wanting to pin him down, and or we go ahead and start making something. But it was all about signing a contract. Everything was all about signing a contract because my material had already been zapped. I did one session or two sessions with him, and they were already working on that. Even when I ran this across my Auntie Vivian, okay, she even went ahead and befriended Beth and and they're all in Florida. Okay, that was all in Florida. And so what happens is when I get there, Stephen had left out, and I caught him in a truck and everything because I guess they had did too much to Beth, because everybody's fighting amongst each other and everything. It's just like fucking crazy. It's just like this stuff right here, okay? Just like this stuff right here, fighting amongst each other, And so what happens is, so I see this girl and everything come down, and it was Dunya, and she changed her name to Luna. Again, this is what brings up, this day again with this blood moon or sturgeon moon 2023. Again, meaning sturgeon moon in August, and we had two of them, which I was over there with fucking Dax. Yeah, right? So she comes in this time as Luna or Noom, okay? Moon. And so all of these things right here, and this is what I'm saying, that spiral. And so these are all the things that's coming out. And so this is Pluto and Gemini bringing all those things back in. And so for me, I can flow and catch things, especially when you watch and listen, not necessarily so much to the words, but you see how they skip over this, skip over that, zoop, 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 R2D2 type of shit. And say, and, switch that, flip flop type of shit. I can grasp it and roll with it. But at a certain point in time, it's like a freeze frame. You freeze all of that shit out. And that's what we got to do in order to go ahead and get back into your flow. Okay? And so even to go ahead and grasp the even to where I'm at right now, again, to where they simply want not just you, they probably don't even want you. They just want your intellectual, what Gemini and Pluto brought in 1884, property. your energy, right? This is what they want. This is what they want. This is what they want, you know. And so, what Pluto does for each of us is, I want to grab that right now and bring it to you. Okay? I mean, I know you probably already seen me because you're tapped into the Wi-Fi. You've probably, in a general sense, know what's coming down the pipeline for what I do. But you want to see how we put it together, and I guess go ahead and or slash copy to go ahead and get your ching ching to whatever degrees and positions that you have been either born into or acquired by some means. And means meaning, yes, like breadth and width and everything. But mean is also just straight mean, which the world is. Fuck it. It is what it is. You know what I'm saying? Okay, so these are some of the things that are happening for each of us, as we all, parts of us are being spoken inside of this, but those actually born into, with Pluto especially, because Lady Gaga, 911, is really, Gaga is Pluto. Okay, so it's it's pretty amazing. It's amazing. So this is what's happening with Pluto, with each of us and everything, in 225 right now. Okay, so and Pluto is in retrograde until we're gonna come right back to that. But for right now, 2025, we're gonna start with Aquarius. Okay, so Aquarius is a sign ruled by intellect and humanitarianism, and in its retrogrades through the ninth house, which is the key area of focus, mental, and philosophical exploration. All right. This is the generality on it. All right. Impacts on beliefs. The transit challenges us to re-examine our core beliefs, philosophies, and fundamental principles. The shape, the understanding of your world. Pluto's letting go of old patterns. Pluto's essence prompts you to let go of old mindsets and thought patterns that no longer serve you to the highest good, foreseeing deeper and spiritual emotional cleansing. All right. Uh, deep exploration under the sign of Gemini. Let me just get straight each sign. So I'll just start at the top with that. Here we go. Okay, so in Aries, it's about time for you to take stock of your relationship with power, ambition, and fame. You have tried to control everything too much. I mean, have you tried to control everything too much? Do you value yourself through your achievements? Now go ahead and cast aside your professional identity from the past and redefine success from within. It's a chance to think about how all the outside stuff has really chased us down and shaping our public identities. Know that when one role or goal is released, it opens up a path for traveling that is much more soul aligned. For Taurus, it says the retrograde is about making you question your rigid structure of beliefs and spiritual dogmas or inherited beliefs that just don't sit well with you any longer. Pluto challenges your long held truths, asking, is it actually yours? And what was taught or absorbed? Foreign connections, higher studies, teachers, or spiritual mentors may spark a profound transformation. What you believe in now should enable you to fly, not chain you up in the past. For Gemini, you are entering a time of emotional detox, regeneration, of shared power, and karmic release. It asks you to face buried issues, hidden fears, trust issues, past traumas, and even energetic entanglements. This is happening all. Woo-wee. Speaking on it. We're just speaking on it before I start this up. All right. So grief left unresolved may pop up in unforeseen ways. It's a time for well-suited or delving into trauma healing, intimacy blocks, deep philosophical transformation. You're being asked to own your own power and break those emotional contracts that hold you small. For Cancer, the bonds you have, karma would be putting them to a test, whether romantic, business, or intimate friendships. It's going to be putting them all to a test. All right? Okay. And maybe, control damage and emotional enmeshments will come to light with carefully guarded resentments finding a voice. Okay? So maybe you will realize you have given away too much or avoided ending things that need to end. And that I have to go ahead and say, all right? That is true. Accept the changes as divine intervention, cleansing out some old karma. You are learning to love better and also to receive love. Now is your time to create equal and respectful relationships. Moving on to Leo, it is time to dig in deep to examining how to control overwork or toxic productivity and impairing your wellness. Are you ignoring what your body is trying to tell you? Do you find your value by how much you accomplish? Now is the time to realign your habits with a higher well-being. This may include decluttering your environment, changing your schedules, or simply allowing yourself to rest. Power does not arrive by burning up most of your energy, but rather through balance. Virgo, are you sometimes afraid to be seen for who you really are? The Pluto retrograde pushes those into reevaluate not only those interactions with creativity, but also the visibility and vulnerability. Are you hanging on to old, stale, romantic idea or a mode of creative expression that does not quite seem true? Perhaps now some of those inner child wounds and fears of judgment will rear their ugly heads. You're able to reclaim the time of joy and play, not to perform for validation. Let go of the need for perfection. Libra, Pluto's retrograde motions emphasis home roots and emotional foundation. You can feel the urgency to examine your connections with your mother or ancestral lineage, or even emotional patterns you have inherited growing up. Family dynamics suddenly come into play along with memories of and possibility of the desire to move or change your space. Okay? So this process is more than just simply cleaning out your actual home. It is largely energetic and cleaning out of your emotional center. Scorpios, your retrograde Pluto journey prompts you of a deeper dive into your thought process and modulation of communication. Horn, horn, horn. You are called to reflect on how your thoughts shape reality. Are you going through a self-doubt loop or a fear? Look at the sirens. Are you going through a self-doubt loop or a fear-laden narrative? Do your words empower or do they undermine you? It is time for a detoxification of the mind. Instead, is it time for a detoxification of the mind? instead of instead, or is it a period of reprogramming your thought process? You may find silence or conscious speech more relevant. All right. Going to the Sagittarius. Pluto now focuses on your attention on finances, values, and self-worth, since the issues involved to go deeper than money. Are you hoarding out of fear? Are you undercharging or overgiving in your relationships or work? Scarcity thinking is likely to rear up for healing. Redefine what abundance means to you, not just materially, but emotionally and spiritually. Now upgrade your value system. Let your choices reflect what truly matters, not what culture tells you should matter. All right, Cappies. The self undergoes a deep transformative review. Who are you without roles? Holding on to an outdated identity or a safety? This is your rebirth. You might find yourself feeling raw, exposed, or in the process of dissolving your identity. It is all just what is it all just what you supposed is it all just what is supposed to happen? Authenticity is shedding. You are putting yourself higher again from the inside out. It is not the time to rush into reinventing oneself. Bide into your time and remember who you were all along below the labels. Aquarius. Pluto retrograde opens up the door for your subconscious and material worlds. It is one of the most mystifying periods. Periods. That's a new word. Okay, periods. Yeah. Mystifying periods during which buried fears, karmic memories, or unresolved past lives an issue may emerge. Rather than attempting to fix things externally, the real work is now in listening, surrendering, and healing. You may enjoy solitude, spiritual practices, or dream work. Don't resist the inward pull. Okay. It says the more you allow space for stillness, the more profound the revelations will be. And as we are in this Pisces moon right now, we're leaning up on Pisces. So Pisces and Pluto invites you to complete your vision, dreams, and the people about whom you care. You may be estranged from some friends, certain social circles, or professional networks. What once motivated you may now seem empty. This is not a period of confusion, but rather clarity. It is the perspective that shows you where you have outgrown superficial connections in the soul aligned community. Look over the long range goals you have set and ask yourself, are these my dreams or are they someone else's expectations? And this is what I told you how I got here. I shared with you how I got here through the little, short history there. And even, bringing up DAX, which is also medical term, as we see, as I posted up there, is medical term for even cancerous type of activities. And we know if we're healthy, most of the time, the cancer is going to go ahead, and that is to go ahead and even give us cancer. As it is, if we have something that gives life, then they're going to take that and reverse reverse engineer it in order to bring us in and give us the synthetic medications or synthetic remedies. And that is what happened in Pluto and Gemini, okay, which I believe Mars governs Gemini, the 88, fastest planet, the 8 by 8, you know, of Ching Ching, I Ching, the 8 by 8, all right, thought forms, and which brings us to where we are right now inside of this year, inside of this ninth year. And we're especially if we're listening to Gaga. Gaga Goo is not Gaga Goo is baby language. It's Gaga, Lady Gaga. It's baby language, and again, it's not necessarily teaching the babies our language, but we got to listen to the baby because they just came from fresh from the 88, right? And but in the proper key, they had the main reason why babies got to go ahead and adjust and everything to this world is because of the resonance. I think Rod had, said it, spoke it, and everything. As far as this is called the Schumann resonance right now, but it should, and that's masculine, and it should be the Tef net, not Tef man resonance. And I have to look more into it, but it sounds correct in the sense that the music itself was dropped down to this 440 key. It was dropped down from key of E, and the reason why it was dropped, as Terrence Howard, as he said, he unraveled it. As he came back, he says, "I'm gonna remember. It's key of life, right? It's key of life and everything." He went in to go ahead and start unscrambling it. It's key of life, and he came to be the key of E. Now the E itself, again, inside the Paleo Hebrew, but we got to beware of the pale horse. Okay, so we got to, so we see how the angle, okay, is a different angle too. We see the 90-degree angle, or not an angle, I want to say a 45-degree angle in which the Paleo Hebrew even gives that, all right? Because whether it be the fly-flat cross, which is, the swastikas and everything, and they would just turn even for Hitler, turn to a 45 degree in order to go ahead and still utilize it as the symbol, that we saw where it comes from, and even the reverse. These are just even going down that when we see that the windmills that we go. This is how the weather is actually produced. Okay, the weather is actually produced whether we're using 4-prong or we're using the Mercedes-Benz 3 windmills right now, even to go ahead and blow in the clouds and, create the weather conditions in which we have right now. Okay, and I saw when I put up there about the German, and I saw it all when I was there. And it started out with computers, believe it or not. It started out with computers. This is when Anne, she was actually pregnant with Timmy, and they wanted to go ahead and bring us a computer in, to go ahead and give her a beruf, which is like, so it can transition into with workforce and everything, and she stopped it. This was the beginning point of even my learning. Okay? Because with a computer coming in there, I would have been up on fucking German. I would have been up on every. So you see what I'm saying? I would have been up on everything, but she didn't want that either. And that is what really pissed me the fuck off. That's what pissed me off because she wanted, you get 3 fucking years with your child. And so to not do nothing with the computer and just, so that right there is what took me and said, this shit ain't right. This shit don't make no sense. And then when Gisela came in and said, hey, if she kicks you out again, call me and I'll tell my daughter to pick you up. All right? All of that shit to the you know, she didn't think I had saw, but when I got the job 6 months out of the Sprachschule on the Bradegasse in Deutschland, 6 days. 6 days. He said, you speak enough, you know, because they had kind of like set things up too to go ahead for me to stay there too. So everything was clicking, and I was paying attention to everything. But for her, even at that, we only had the Nokias at the time. And one of the dudes I had hung out with Rico was there. He came through the Bradegasse, and I know she had to call him because it was by coincidence. It wasn't by coincidence. But as I'm working in my apron, he comes up and then they switch phone numbers and all that type of shit, and you know. And I still, this is what's so crazy about everything. Even with me going out and meeting and even having sex with the females over there in Germany, or even when I went to Tanzania, okay? And even with the ones, you know, because you had to pay. And one time I didn't have enough money. I ran to the bank and came back and gave her money. And all of that right there and everything I done, I never caught a disease. Never. But they are full of fucking disease. Whether it still be disease of the heart and the body right now. So I'm saying this right now, I'm saying this right now because intention counts for everything. Intention, whether we speak in this Latin dead language or not. Intention counts for everything. And just like what I say, his name was Terrence Howard. Okay, just like Terrence Howard said, hey, when he came in this time, he says, I'm gonna remember. And he started on his work. I'm not putting to an if out here, which is a 6-9 or a 9-6, however you want to flip it. I'm not putting that in there right now to say, because I know things are going to go ahead and correct itself, or will be corrected, you know, whether it be by Ecclesiastics, a time to live and a time to die, 3:3. All right? All those in Ecclesiastics 3. All right? Of which, if we actually go ahead and open up to that of the DNA, you know, 666, 6 protons, 6 neutrons, 6 electrons, to that of Ecclesiastes 7:1, it says a name is more precious than precious ointment. And the day of man's death is better than the day of man's birth. And that would be man or woman. And so within that, whether or not, at this point in time, see, what everybody's doing this time right now, and it's to the it's not necessarily, you know, in the whole processes that we're sitting here talking about. How you doing now? All right. Processes that we're talking about right now of cooking, and everybody cooks differently. Everybody cooks differently. Some people cook for the for the day. Some people cook for the year. Some people cook and try and hold us. Like over in Thailand, they got something. The soup and everything that's actually been cooking for centuries. For centuries, shit, from what they say. But everybody cooks differently. And even the centuries of intention, whether if they be bad or good. But there's always a yin and a yang. And so whether or not this place is in this time and zone that we're in right now actually comes to rectify itself, I have written and continuing to write, overwrite, and underwrite everything. And my ancestors know this. Okay, know this. That's the reason why, like I said, at 19, Auntie Susan said, "Hey, is this the one? Is it the one?" And a lot of you have had these positions, and you might even feel that they're dispositions at times. But I'm here to go ahead and tell you they're not. They're not. Everything that we signed our contract for previously to this entrance is going to come to pass. And regardless, all we have to do is zakar, is remember. And that is, if we, not every single day is promised. Not every single moment is promised. Moment to moment is promised. Okay? But when we go ahead and we start remembering and we put in the actual, we put in the work. It's not just think of remember, put in the work. We put in the work, and it's supposed to be, borrow. Everybody's teaching, reflecting off of each other. That's pretty much what this right here is. That's a reflection right there, in a general sense, off the water, so to speak, and that of the solar mass, the blue solar mass that I put up there. It gets 200,000 solar masses, as opposed to the 1.5 of the red or the white dwarf of 0.7 to 0.8, and all the different solar masses in which one would actually, mean lifetimes, or the energy that's within, the energy that's within, to go ahead and energize, as our soul does go ahead and do. So all of this right here to say, Gaga Goo Goo is not bad at all. Gaga, Lady Gaga Goo Goo, Lady Gaga Goo Goo. Listen to it said, well, you have to be a child in order to enter into these kingdoms. A lot of times it's going to be back Gaga Goo Goo on a lot of things, meaning we're forever learning, all right? So with all those things right there, that's what I want to go ahead and still encourage you to go ahead and do, learn, and to go ahead and keep on look that up. I mean, you probably already know it. All those things that are sitting here and talked about as far as this retrogrades, especially with the Gemini, but even in each of our own chakras, within our body, our feet, a Pisces, what we're talking about right now, with this moon right here, this blood moon. So focus circulation, because that's two suns right now. Pisces in our 2 feet is two suns. There's a lot of people that's in a wheelchair. They can't walk right now. They're in a wheelchair, so they don't even get to put the pressure on there to go ahead uh, and what do you, and give power to this soul, and to our eyes, our pine cone, our pine cone and everything, our pineal gland, even as even as I walk down here, we got to fill it up, our pineal. So even the word Filipino, the gates of Filipinos, the Philippine pie, okay, pie, Filipino, yeah, all of it is the reason why the baker got his head cut off, even after giving him the dream of telling the king at the time that, hey, look, the 7 skinny cows means you're going to have 7 years of famine. And the 7 fat cows means you're going to have 7 years of plentiful. And even though the baker, Ethel May Baker, went ahead, LaPrade, went ahead and as Yosef, meaning to gather, told the king, they still wanted the butler because they didn't like what the baker had said. So a lot of people only will want the butler, as opposed to the baker, the kaba, the soul body, okay, soul mind, the ka, which is the car. All right, driving and everything. He said, I'd rather have the butler to serve me. And so we have to watch out for those who serve us. Even, especially when we go to a home restaurant, or those who are presented up in to be the maitre d'. Welcome to Fantasy Island, which is pretty much how, again, back to how I was greeted, even to, but this is how you could tell the class, different class and everything. If you're invited to go to a fight and they're the main event and they ask you for 20 shillings, to get for the ticket to get in, then that fight ain't really about shit. All right. If you're won the fight and you come back and say, okay, everybody, we're going here to get some beer or get some drinks and celebrate and everything, and he ain't buying because he won, that ain't about shit. And then when you really look at the motherfucker and the whole crew, I don't give a they name. I don't give a they is a Khalifa or a Saeed or a fucking Dax, as they will go ahead and Dax. What do you call it? Dax your. What do you call that stuff when they look up your information and everything? Some along like that. Some lines along something like that. But you don't even have to do that with a lot of people because, back to what I was saying at the beginning, people tell you who they are. You just have to listen. And you don't necessarily have to respond at that time. It might, because again, how you cook is different, way different than how people cook, how other people cook, or animals cook, or you know what I'm saying. It's way different because your contract that you sign is way different. Even going back to I did had a hunk on that. I did check out Rod today on. He was talking about positions and so forth. Listening, learning. The wife, the husband, and so forth. To learn the wife, and the wife to learn the husband, and whatever you got. Hey, good, bad, or ugly, whatever you got to go through. Or a relationship. Again, whether it be single or polygamous or whatever. You know what I'm saying? That's if you're gonna go through it, then you're gonna go through it. If you can't go through it, then we can't go through it. Okay, so but people don't learn the other person and everything, and a lot of the times, I've been married now twice, and a long relationship of 6 years. So it took 10 years. You tell, you be able to tell a lot of things in 10 years. You know why? Because it starts back over to one, just like we're getting ready to do next year. You know what I'm saying? This is the ninth year, right? I'm getting ready to start all over. So don't. Well, this is what a lot of people can't bank on. Even if we gather a lot of moss right now in year nine we gather a lot of moss right now. Not a ching ching. One starting over. That's how fast a lot of things can happen, just like that. One is starting over. And it wouldn't necessarily meaning like ONE. We're talking about, the VV or double V or W as we put it. O/N, one. In that sense. And in that sense. Meaning, yes, of course, we do have to go ahead and put ourselves to be number one. But if that person that we're not with, or people that we're sharing this, we're on the same road, or we're doing that, and even like you said, forgiving mistakes along the way, growing until it gets to a point to where it started to take from you being number one. So after being through a lifetime of loops and not even knowing that you're the target of a lot of discontentment, not about you, but about their contract or// position that they sought out, or disposition that they slipped into. Again, like Denzel Washington said, he said, hey, at the top of a mountain, when you get to the top, it's kind of slippery. Or any mountain, it's kind of slippery. Why? Because no matter if you're at the low hill, or the next bigger hill, or whatever, everybody trying to pull you off that hill, like crabs in a bucket, 6'9", crabby, in a bucket. So on this sturgeon moon, on this blood moon, think about those things. Don't let it stir you, in the wrong direction. Make sure you check your fire. All right? And as this is air and fire right now, make sure, I would suggest, I'm not going to say what to do, but make sure, hey, You're the chemist, you're the alchemist inside of your own world. Make sure you're not just on Phoenix. You're not just flaming on all the time, because you're gonna burn off the soot. You're gonna burn off the actual the melanin, you know, or, or or the gold or whatever it is that you're the artifice of right now. You're gonna burn it off and everything, and it's gonna spill over. You know, so it's not like I said, it's not a race. It's not a race against other people. That is, it comes from within and it's going to end from within, and that's the target. That's the focus. That's the focus. All right. So don't lose focus, and hey, set your intentions. Set your intentions. All right. All right. You all take care. And damn, that was a rough start. But again, those who have helped me along the way, and hey, I stumble here, left, right, but and I come back to center. We all come back to center, to to the middle. I'm not gonna say center, but you know, to be balanced, and not necessarily in a with my intentive word, not a bow and not a lance. No, but you know what I mean, without saying anything. All right. So again, I thank you. I love you, and we'll see each other when we see each other. Okay. All right. Be fruitful and multiply. Talk to you later. Ciao.